For craft time, we've been making animals out of toilet paper tubes. Fun maybe, but what in the world does that have to do with the theme of VBS, namely God's Word?
Hey campers, welcome back. It's Mrs. J again, and today we'll be making a frog. For the frog, you'll need the pattern, 1 toilet paper roll, red, green markers, or green, red, white paint, scissors. If you have adult supervision, the adult can use an X-Acto knife for the intricate cuts such as the eyes, embossing tool or knife, pencil. And today we'll be making a frog. So when you take your toilet paper tube and squish it flat, you want to carefully trace your pattern onto the tube. When you lay your pattern on the tube, you need to fold back the portions of the pattern so that you can mark where you need to cut. All of the solid lines are where you're cutting. So mark your tube and carefully cut out each of those places. You're going to be doing some intricate cutting. So if you have a parent or an older sibling that can use an X-Acto knife, you're going to want to let them do that because the eye, you can't cut the eye out with scissors. You need to use a different cutting tool for that.
If we broaden our definition of God's Word to not only His written Word, but His spoken Word as well, then quite a lot actually. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, their starry host by the breath of His mouth. It says that in Psalms 33. One of the first things we learn about God all the way at the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis 1:1, is that He's a creator and that He did it by His word. By verse 27, in that same first chapter, the final thing created, man, has been created in God's own image. So we can only assume that when we're being creative, we in some small way are imaging God.
Once you have cut out your pattern, you can turn your tube sideways to mark the tongue. You need to be careful with the tongue and you need to be careful with the eyes. Have an adult use the X-Acto knife to cut out the eye and the tongue. Make sure that you don't cut on the dotted lines because you will be folding there and using your embossing tool. Once you've folded that and the eye has been cut out, you're only cutting out half of the eye. So then the eye will flip up. When you are finished cutting out your frog, you will separate the feet so that they can be folded forward and flattened. To get your frog to sit upright, you might want to use some pennies. You can tape or glue some pennies to the bottom of the feet so that when you fold the feet forward, it makes the frog sit upright and that it won't be floppy.
We are to imitate God. Of course, that means His character, like His goodness, righteousness, faithfulness, and love. But I think that can include his creative nature as well. God took nothing but the power of his created word and created all things visible and invisible, like it says in Colossians 1. We take a humble tube and create a representation of some of those things visible. We're like a 2-year-old learning to draw, and I think God is pleased when we do. The more we imitate what he has made, the more we learn to appreciate not only the genius of what he made, but of God himself. We can see how great God is by what he created. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the works of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display knowledge. That's found in Psalm 19. Well, today we're making the wonderful animal, the frog.